Here we are. Can you guys hear me? Hey, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Making sure you guys hear me real quick. Can you guys hear me? Testing. I don't want to be talking if you guys cannot hear me. Perfect. Perfect. Well, here I am again. It is November 5th, Sunday, November 5th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to continue doing these live streams Sundays at 3 p.m. unless, of course, I have some commitments or travel or something that stops me from giving you guys 2 hours of my time. During these 2 hours, I want to make sure that you come ready with questions, prepared, okay, to ask me any of your audio related concerns. One thing I want to make sure you understand is when you're asking me for a recommendation of some sort, whatever that may be, please make an effort to tell me what does your system consists of. Cannot make recommendations if I really do not know the supporting gear, the supporting cast. Okay. So it is very, very crucial for me that you give me that information. Okay. If not, I'm going to go right over your question because you're not giving me enough for me to answer you. Okay. So make sure you understand that. It is very, very important. So before I get started, I want to get your feedback at this time. Are you guys enjoying these videos throughout the week? If you've seen my live streams, okay, you can catch the whole thing on Sunday. But soon after that, I'm taking it down because I need to edit content for the entire week. So I am putting videos that are approximately 8 to 10 minutes long, nothing too crazy. I don't want to keep you guys glued. So I think 8 to 10 minutes it's the right amount of time. And you get to hear answers to all sorts of questions. Do you guys enjoy this type of content? Is this something that seems interesting? It seems like, for the most part, majority of you are liking it based on the feedback that I've gotten in the comments. But this is the first time I'm asking you live if you find any value in these videos. And it's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie, but it definitely is moving my needles when it comes to reaching more audiences, newer subscribers, not to mention, of course, more views, which helps the channel grow. But I want to hear, let me look at your comments to see if you find this helpful, okay? Okay, so I'm looking at it. Let me know. Okay, so it looks like people are loving this content, okay? 8 to 10 minute cut-ups during the week has been fantastic. Yep, that's what I'm trying to do. So if you don't catch the live stream right now, you're not going to catch the whole thing, okay? Because I hide it and I begin to work right after that, okay? Just so you know. So if you want to see the whole thing at once and be done, so you don't have to watch videos throughout the week, you need to be here at 3 p.m. because I'll take it down and I'll begin to do bits and pieces of the live stream throughout the week. However, I will not do the whole thing because there is so much information that I handpick those questions that I prefer. Okay, those pieces that I think are more suitable for my channel. Okay, so let me first start by talking about the new Magical M7. I think you guys saw images of this speaker. Okay, it finally came out last Tuesday, I want to say Wednesday, November 1st. And it is exactly what I said it would be, $375,000 MSRP. Luckily, they did exactly what I wanted them to do, which is to create a more affordable M9. The speaker does not look like the M6. It looks like the M9, the bigger brother. I think that was a great move. If you're asking me, I think Magical realizes that, unfortunately, you're not going to get a lot of buyers for speakers that are, as pricey as the M9. That's just not reality, folks. You're not going to get that many buyers. But I don't think they're trying to sell many anyway. Rumor has it that there are approximately 20 Magical M9s around the globe. The majority of these M9s are in Asia. Okay, so we don't have that many here in the US. I would say that I'd be shocked if I found out that there are 5 Magical M9 owners in the United States. A lot of that ultra expensive stuff doesn't even stay here in the US. I know most of you watch me from around the globe, and I'm here to tell you that when you see these brands, American brands, come out with crazy expensive cables, speakers, amplifiers, I'm going to tell you that most of this stuff doesn't come to the US. Most of this stuff does not stay in the US, I should say. It goes overseas. It goes to the Asian buyers, the hardcore audiophiles in Hong Kong and in China, and just they are the big ones pushing the envelope when it comes to the extremes. When it comes to the most expensive items, I think the Asian buyers are number one. In the United States, believe it or not, we do have a specific kind of audiophile that loves ultra expensive stuff. But the truth is, if I'm being sincere, in the US, most folks rather spend their money on either, if it's a toy, if it's something for a hobby. I think people here in the US spend more money on cars, number one, more than anything else. You'll see more expensive cars than anything else here. And I see a lot of people who are into watches, believe it or not, expensive watches here in the US. But the ultra high end audio, the truth is, most of this stuff we never get to see in the US. Okay. I've never seen an M9 other than the one time I went to the Magical Factory. So I wanted to give you those. I wanted to give you that context so that you understand that a lot of this expensive stuff isn't really sold here in the US. Okay. So kudos to Magical for releasing the M7. It looks like it might be a great speaker. Hopefully I get to hear it at a show. I did ask Alone Wolf if he is planning to display the speaker at a show sometime in the near future, hopefully in 2024. And he said anything is possible. I'm not going to hold my breath. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to say, if I'm a betting man, I would be shocked if we see a Magical M7 at a show. Reason being is, here in the United States, we have never even seen a Wilson Audio Chronosonic XVX. You've seen it at Munich. Munich, yes. You have never seen a Chronosonic XVX at any US show. So I think that more than likely, you're not going to see a Magical M7 at a US show. Okay. I am pretty sure we're going to see it in Munich next year. Not going to see it at a local show. It's just because of the fact that I think the biggest concern that Magical has, just like Wilson, is the reality is this type of speaker will never be set up properly in a hotel room with poor acoustics, a poor environment. And all that's going to do is create a narrative that destroys the speaker brand, destroys the product itself, instead of actually helping the product gain traction. Okay. So I don't think we'll ever get to see this level of loudspeakers at a US show. It just doesn't sell. It doesn't. Real buyers of this type of speaker do not go to a show to hear it. Real buyers of top-end loudspeakers get out to dealers that have done all the work, all the heavy lifting to make sure that that speaker sounds its best. Okay, so that's what a real buyer would do, or fly to the factory, whether it be the Wilson, the Focal, the Rockport factory, or the Magical factory, whatever it would be. Real buyers head out to the factory to hear it, or they go to a dealer that has it properly set up. Okay, that's what they do. They don't go to shows to listen to this. Okay, but anyway, without any further delays, why don't we get started? Let me read your questions. Make sure if you have a question, okay, you are as thorough as possible, clean and clear, so that it doesn't make me assume anything. Okay. And please, please subscribe and hit that like button. Let's call on more people. Hit the like button, okay? Subscribe so that we can make this a very engaging conversation. Before I forget, I want to say this. I will be at the Capital Audio Fest show in Rockville, Maryland, this coming Friday, Saturday. I will be there. You will see me there walking the hallways, looking at all the possibilities, as many rooms as I can possibly handle. I am typically there from 9 in the morning, hit the ground running all the way through 6 p.m. on Friday, and I repeat that same schedule on Saturday. If you're there and you see me, feel free to come by and say hello. Let's talk audio. Let's talk about your situation. I love to engage with a lot of you in person. It means a lot to me, of course, because it means that you're watching me, you're supporting me. So if you are in Rockville, Maryland this coming weekend, come and say hello. Okay, first question. Dipoles like Maggie's are known for having very deep soundstage because they project. The XVX has a tweeter projecting backward. Okay, so does it compare soundstage depth? If I read you correctly, you're asking dipole speakers have sound coming out of the rear. The XVX has a tweeter behind. Is it the same effect? Not exactly, but the intent is the same. They're both trying to create spaciousness, more depth behind the speakers. So that's one of the things that I'm very attracted to, as I said on the last live stream. Okay, I really enjoy this feeling of more depth. But you're onto something by connecting the dots with these two types of speakers. Okay, I can see why you would assume that's the case, because I've noticed, of course, that any speaker that has any sort of driver behind it always gives you the illusion not only of more depth, but also it disappears better, in my opinion. So I would agree. Great question, David. Do I think high humidity affects sound quality? I would say yes. High humidity does affect sound quality. I'm going to tell you where that starts. That starts with cables, metal. It actually contracts and expands depending on the temperature. I know transparent cables, they're top of the line Magnum Opus cables. When you send them in to get them calibrated, that's one thing they ask you, the temperature, average temperature of the room. And that is exactly because of this, because they want to make sure that that cable is as calibrated as possible to compensate for the temperature. Definitely feel like humidity absolutely impacts the quality of the sound, and not only just cables. I think it impacts other areas, electronics. There's no doubt, but I don't think that in a properly set up room with the right temperature, which I'm hoping that's what you all have out there. Hopefully you're not listening to music in your backyard under a tree. Okay, so I think most rooms are always going to be probably in the 70 to 80 Fahrenheit temperature range. And I think from 70 to 80, I don't think there's going to be a difference in sound. And the humidity that you're referring to definitely has impact. But again, when I think about humidity, oftentimes I think about rooms that don't have like climate control, air conditioning. They don't have anything like that. They're more like with the windows open and they let the external humidity come into the room. I think about that type of scenario. Here in the US, the reality is most folks have air conditioning. So, and you have dehumidifiers that will help you with those humidity issues. Okay, so for the most part, we don't see issues with it, but I think theoretically, I can see how humidity can impact the performance of a sound system. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, I'm working really hard on my thumbnails. You have no idea how hard it is. Okay, and by the way, the better your questions are, if you notice, I choose questions that I want to highlight on my thumbnails. So make sure you have great killer questions so that you might be the next person that I answer. Any chance of trying Edeon? Okay, or Ideon or Edeon, however you want to call it. Okay, this brand, in case you do not know and you're new to this brand, Edeon, it's a Greek brand as far as I know. Okay, it's been a brand that Those, I believe they manufacture clocks, DACs, and maybe, who knows? I don't think they make any amplifiers, but I think it's a lot of digital stuff. Okay. This brand is making some noise right now in the US. Okay. I spoke to the distributor, I would say 2 weeks ago. They are in California. I picked up the phone and I called them to express my interest on this brand. I want to see what it does. I want to hear the DAC, their top of the line DAC that I believe is $47,000. Then you have a clock that is an X amount of money that you add on top. And then you have the streamer that's another X amount of money. I think when it's all together, all three chassis, it is approximately $80,000. Okay. I spoke to him because I've seen a lot of noise, a lot of narratives, a lot of conversations, okay, about this brand. So I requested to evaluate privately the DAC, their top of the line DAC. It turns out that they do not have one available for me at this time. It is getting reviewed by 2 reviewers, and they said that once those reviews are completely done and finalized, then they'll contact me and send me one for my evaluation. Okay. I've heard the following things about this brand. Okay. I've heard, and again, this is all speculations. I want to make sure you understand that. Okay. I have no way of proving what I'm about to say. This is what I've heard. I've heard it beats DACs that are in 6 figures. If you're asking me 6 figures, then I guess they're referring to the MSB Select. They are referring to the WattX DAC. They are referring to God knows what other DAC is in the 6-figure range. Okay. They're saying that for $47,000 or $80,000 if you add the streamer and the clock, they're saying this DAC smokes DACs that are in the 6-figure range. They're saying it's very dynamic. They're saying it's actually very musical. And that this DAC is supposed to be the next great thing when it comes to a digital source. There is a great review on Absolute Sound by Robert Harley. He spoke really highly of this brand. He apparently has nothing but great things to say about this DAC. Okay. I don't know anything about it. I cannot give you my feedback yet. But if they come back to me, maybe in Q1 of 2024, and they say, Jay, we are ready to send you the DAC so you can listen to it. I always say this to brands, and I want to use this opportunity to let you know what I say to brands. I always say this. I'm going to do a private evaluation of the unit. If I like it, and I think it's really good stuff, I'm going to make a video about it. You guys are going to know about it. You guys are going to get it from me. If I feel that it's not up to my expectations, I'm just going to send it back. Now, before you go and say, that's so unfair, Jay, because you're not even telling us that there is something out there that we should not even look at, you're pretty much setting us up for failure. You're right. And I'm going to answer you guys right now. I can say the following, okay? If I'm buying it with my own money and I'm reviewing it, I am going to make content that oftentimes will be pretty easy to understand whether I liked it or disliked it. Okay. If it's a private evaluation that they're sending me, which by the way, I can count with maybe 2-3 fingers how many times that has been the case, that I've had a brand send me something and I have accepted that. Maybe with 3 fingers. That's all I need. Okay. It doesn't happen because I reject those things consistently. But because Idion is very, not necessarily new, but it's not widely known in the US, I'm not about to spend my money and buy it and then lose my shirt on, my shirt when I sell it. I can't take that financial hit, for lack of a better word. Okay. So when I do get it, I have a feeling it's a good DAC. I do have a feeling it's a good DAC. Okay. I will make sure that I come back and give you feedback. Okay. When that happens, I will make sure that I make this more public because a lot of you have been asking me about it. And I think it's more than reasonable for me to give you my feedback. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. You seem to lean towards bigger amps, but I doubt these will work in our smaller European homes. What do I think about this? I agree 100%. By now, it should be no secret that Jay's Audio Lab is a sucker for massive amplifiers. If I can put an amplifier here the size of a car, I would. I promise you. I love that. That's my thing. Big amplifiers, because I still don't find tiny shoeboxes when it comes to size of amplification come anywhere near the performance of some of the best amplifiers I've owned. Boulder, Griffin, and I'm sure there are more amplifiers that I can think of right now. I always feel like, unfortunately, you need a lot of real estate to shove all the top end parts that these big brands need in order to make an amplifier impressive. The big capacitors that you've seen, they need space, 4, 6, 8 of those. Then you got the massive power supplies, 3 kVA. I mean, it's crazy the space that they need, but that's what it takes to build a world-class amplifier, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that there aren't any good amplifiers out there that are more modest in size. Yes, there are amplifiers out there that can definitely perform at a high level, no doubt. But with regards to your question about the space that you have in Europe, it's sad because in Europe is where Griffin is born, right? This is where they're made. In Europe is where you have, V2's amplifiers. They build some big amplifiers too. Europe builds some big stuff. And the reality is that that's some killer stuff. And to know that you can't try it because of the space constraints that you have, it's really sad. Unfortunately, I will be very real here. I don't think you'll ever get to hear the best amplification because of your current space limitations. There's nothing really else I can say about that other than the fact that I wish you had a bigger home so you can hear what some of these incredible amplifiers that I normally display are capable of. What do I think of AGD Class D amplifiers? I have no opinion. I keep hearing a lot of conversation, chit chat about this amplification. Maybe someday I try it. I know people are asking me to give it a go and see how they do with my Wilson Audio Chronosonic XVXs and compare. Maybe I compare it against my Apex and see what they do. Right now, I haven't spoken to AGD. They have not reached out to me. I haven't gotten an email. Maybe I do it just simply because that demographic, the buyer of this price point, could be interested in watching me. So it might be good for my channel if I'm trying to grow. So let me see if they are at the show, Capital Audio Fest, so I can speak to them some more. And maybe, who knows, maybe I can actually give them a go here and see what they're capable of. What is the best performance streamer DAC that can also function as a preamplifier? You want an all-in-one box solution, right? Well, MSB is not going to be that. Lampensator is not going to be that. Let me think about this. The only one I can think of are Boulder. I think it's Boulder 812. And also the next one is a DCS. Okay. Any of the DCS DACs do all of that. Okay. They have a great interface. They're room compatible, which means, they're easy to handle. They can basically coexist with anything else you have going on right now in your network. Really easy to play with them. I think that's really the only two. Even this Ideon DAC needs an external, streamer. So a lot of these brands, believe it or not, are not doing that. Unless, of course, I'm forgetting Lumen. Lumen has one called the X1 with an external power supply. So that does all of those things. It depends on your budget, okay? It really depends on your budget. The thing you have to keep in mind is, as you go up the ladder and you have more budget to spend on your digital front end, Now it becomes more of separate pieces. You have the network switch, then followed by your router, then you have your music server, then you have your DAC, then you have your clock. You see what I'm saying? A lot of different pieces, because an all-in-one solution, one box solution, okay, honestly will never outperform separates. It just won't happen. Another one that comes to mind is the Hi-Fi Rose 150 B, I believe it. Yeah, RS 150, I think it is the model number. I have one of those. Check out my website. It's for sale. I keep hearing great things about it. I have not even opened it. Guilty as charged. I haven't even opened it. It's sealed in a box. Maybe I should go to my storage, grab it, bring it in here, open it up, and see how it sounds. I keep hearing good things about it. People are telling me that it's a real killer streamer DAC that has a lot of great sound, a lot of nice functionality. You can watch YouTube on the display. You can run an HDMI cable. All these things that you can do with it. It's quite attractive as well. But I got so many things going on that I just took it to my storage unit and left it there, and I haven't touched it ever since. So those are the only recommendations I can give you at this time for all-in-one solutions. Okay, great question. Sasha 2 or latest PS Audio FR30. My recommendation is going to be very skewed. Let me explain. I've owned the Sasha 2s in the past. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, that was my very first true audiophile grade speaker. Then after that, of course, I upgraded and kept going up the ladder. The FR30s from PS Audio, I heard in Munich briefly. I'm hoping to hear them this coming Friday at the Capital Audio Fest. Maybe they're going to display. So if they do, I'm going to make an effort to go in there, talk to Paul if he's there or whoever is running the show for them, and see if I can perhaps have a private listening session at night to get a feel for the system, maybe a couple of videos, and see if I can come away with a good feeling about the system, about the speakers. Now, keep in mind, I know you mentioned speakers, but I'll tell you, it's a system. Yes, the speakers and the room, of course, are the most important things, the most important variables. Okay. But remember, the system has to be there. So you can make any speaker sound like trash if it doesn't have any synergy with the components that you're using. What I heard in Munich wasn't really special, but that had to do more with the music that we're playing. It was classical music. It was very slow. It was, I hate to say it, it was like funeral music. Funeral music. I mean, I was like this. And then I just had to go because I needed to go through the rooms. It was really, I cannot evaluate rooms that have that kind of music. Okay. I don't know if they do it on purpose, by the way. I don't know if some brands put slow music on purpose so that people clear the room sooner. I don't really know. That's a good question. Now that I think about it, I wonder if that's why they do that. Okay. But give me an opportunity to go listen if they have him at the show, Capital Audio Fest, and then come back with feedback to give you my opinion. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with either one. I would say look at the price points, see which one is more within your budget, and then go from there. But remember, the electronics around it are just as important. Jay, in real life, you have a boss or a partner and colleagues. What do they think about this crazy side of your life? Well, you're making it seem like I got something illegal going on. You make it sound like I got something hidden under my blankets that I shouldn't be doing. But nothing. I mean, it's perfectly normal nowadays. People are now multitasking. People are now doing everything they want to do because we have technology in our fingertips. You can have your side business. You can be selling on Etsy. You can be doing, sales on eBay, selling plants from your garden right now while you're working a 9 to 5 at home. I mean, there are many ways that you can think about making supplemental income. This is one way for me. I am, full transparency, thinking about perhaps going full time with YouTube, maybe in 2024. It is going to certainly hurt me financially because I would leave one source of income, my regular job, in order to put both of my arms, legs, and mine into YouTube and making content and growing my website, making a lot more professional videos for other partners that will come on board with me. I am at that point, and I want to be very honest about this. I'm getting to this intersection now where I've always been like this: one arm here and one arm here, right? And trying to essentially leverage both arms when it comes to income. But I think right now what's going on is if I want to pull myself up on this tree branch, I need this arm. I can't do it with one arm. You see what I'm saying? I'm getting to that point where I need to let go of this in order to go like this from this one and climb. And I think I'm getting there. It's been 4 years doing YouTube, making content. Opportunities have opened up. I partner with good people, people who have my best interest. And yeah, I think it's just getting to that point, and I think 2024 could be the first time that I might leave corporate America and completely work for myself and have no boss but myself. It's exciting, but also nerve-wracking. But I think you all understand what I'm saying. You can't do two things at once at a high level. You can't be a basketball player and a baseball player and excel at both at the same time. You have to choose what you want to do. You can certainly hold on to both of them for an extended amount of time, but once you've come to that realization that you're getting older, so your mental capacity is not the same as it once was, meaning you forget things, your performance begins to either diminish on one or the other, and you realize, what's my passion? Where do I want to be? Do I want to be working for someone else forever? Do I want to do a 9 to 5 forever and report to somebody forever and deal with politics that are all bullshit? You know this. Or do I want to say, you know what? I'm willing to give up this X amount of income and quit working for someone and dedicate myself to my thing, although I know my thing might be a struggle at first, and I may have to make sacrifices. I may have to sell one of my cars. I may have to cut down on a lot of expenses in order to stay afloat with one single thing. But if that's sacrifice that I have to make, then I have to do what I have to do. What I don't want to do is realize this when I'm 55 years old and now I'm too old to begin that journey. You see what I'm saying? So I got a lot of things to think about. I'm sharing this with you from my heart. I got a lot of things in my head that I have to really marinate and process within myself, and then see if I indeed will go full time with this YouTube thing. And of course, not just YouTube, but also my brand, also my website, also seeing where I can support, other aspects of the industry that can perhaps help me generate the income that I would be losing by quitting my job. Remember this one more time. I want to be 1000% honest with you. Okay. Everyone who has a YouTube channel, every person that you follow right now, whether it be on regards to audio, music, video, the car industry, everyone who has a decent YouTube channel with a following is a business. We're all businesses on YouTube. Everyone. Now, if you are a person with 5 subscribers, no, you're not a business. But everyone who has a decent following is a business. Don't forget that. And I'm no different. I'm not here trying to hide and pretend that I'm something else. No, I am a business. My business is buying equipment with my own money, as I have said it as I have said from day one, buy with my own money and evaluate, give you my opinion, and then sell. I used to do that in the beginning. It hasn't changed ever since, okay, because of the fact that I cannot keep everything. You guys know I go through a lot of things. I think I must have gone through probably, wow, I mean, in 2023, I don't even have a number. I'm going to come back to you with some numbers so you understand how much equipment I've been through in 2023. We're 11 months into this year. There's less than 60 days to go before we start 2024. And I couldn't do this if I wasn't smart with my money, if I didn't have an eye for this and I didn't understand where I need to put my money and where not to put it. It's a very expensive hobby, but it's also a hobby that can drive you to bankruptcy if you do not pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. So I know I went longer than I needed to, but I wanted to give you that additional context as to where I think I want to go and what my future vision is when it comes to Jay's Audio Lab. What contributes a reference system? I've heard people in the industry say systems like these start at 75K. Others say it's whatever beats other brands for way less. Well, a reference system to me, yeah, there is, of course, the dollar amount associated with it, okay? Because you're not going to tell me that you're going to build a reference system with $500 speakers in a receiver. That's not a reference system. Come on. You guys can agree with me here. You guys can agree with me here. That's not a reference system. Okay. Now, so there is a certain amount of money that you have to spend to really begin to hear what home audio is all about, the possibilities, how far we can take it. Can it transport us out of the room into the live venue? And unfortunately, that comes at a cost, and not a cheap cost, may I add. It's actually quite pricey. But I'm not going to tell you you cannot build an amazing system for $20,000. I'm not going to tell you you can't do something amazing for 40, 100, whatever the case may be. I believe there are systems that are maybe six figures, easily beating systems that are seven figures. I believe that because that person probably took the time, paid attention to every nuance, paid attention to the right combinations, did his homework, rather than just grabbing a credit card and dumping money and hopefully it sounds good, right? There isn't really a budget per se. I can't tell you need to spend $75,000 to have a reference system. Okay, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. Unfortunately, yeah, my system is a hell of a lot of money. Yes, it is. But I will never tell you get out there and spend the money I've spent to be satisfied and to have a reference system. No, it has to do with your budget. It has to do your room. Remember, your room has a lot to do with that, and also what checks your boxes. Maybe what you like as an example, are Martin Logan speakers. You love panels. You love Magnapan. You've heard everything else, and your heart is with panels. Okay, well, guess what? That's an affordable speaker. Affordable speaker. Not really affordable, right? It's still like 15 grand, 20 grand, depending on the model. Still money. But you don't have to spend 359. You see what I'm saying? So I think you need to first find out what checks your boxes, what touches your soul. In reality, and I don't think I've ever said this very clearly, maybe I can use this opportunity right now to say this. It's about the music. It's about the music. It's about connecting with the music. It's not about the gear. You're probably wondering, did he just say it's about the music and not about the gear? Why is he always talking about equipment and not music? Because my channel is targeted to displaying and talking about the ultra high-end audio components. My dedication is not to talk about records, CDs, tapes. That is not what my channel is about. Okay, so I have to pick a topic, a subject, and stick with it and push forward. I started talking about components. I've kept this same journey, same path throughout the last 4 years. I plan to continue to do the same. But ultimately, what this should be about is the music. And for it to be about the music, you don't really need to spend $500,000 to make it sound good. You don't. You could be using headphones at the gym and or driving in your car and enjoying the ride and really vibing with the music, right? So a reference system to me is a system that hopefully takes you out of your daily stressful life, hopefully makes you reminisce. One thing that I love to feel when I listen to a reference system is, can I reminisce? Can I think about my early days? Can I think about when I was 7 years old and I got in a fight with my friend, and what was I listening to at that point in time? To me, those are the precious moments that I look for every day. Unfortunately, once again, full transparency with you guys. Okay, once again, um, I don't have the time anymore to vibe as much as I would like to with music because I have so many things going on, so many things that I have to be doing, evaluating, lifting boxes. I got three power amplifiers right now in here waiting to enter the lab. I got another set of speakers here waiting to enter the lab. I just picked up two processors today from Macintosh, the MX160, the MX170. They're here. I have the MX180 in the back in my rack. There are so many things that I have going on that I unfortunately don't have the time to make it about the music. But I'll tell you one thing: when I do have the time to sit here, usually really late at night, if I can just select 1 hour, 2 hours to listen to music and nothing else, I put my phone on airplane mode. I lock my door and I listen to music for 2 hours, and I try to forget about everything else that I have going on. And that's to me the best feeling and what makes this hobby worth it. The problem is because of all the reading that we're doing, magazines, watching channels like mine. And again, you may unsubscribe right now because I'm telling you this, but watching channels like mine, watching other channels, not just mine, ends up taking time away from you actually listening to your system and enjoying it for what it is. So a reference system at the end of the day is a system that connects with you, that takes you out from your discomfort and hopefully puts you in a good place mentally and emotionally. Okay, what DAC streamer do I recommend for a mid-fi system? Separates all in one. You have an ATI 4005 amp. It's a massive amp, man. Massive amplifier. Marantz 7706 and Sonos Faber Sonetto V speakers. What DAC streamer? You know what? For your system, when I look at the components and the speakers for your system, and I'm going based on how much you've spent, I would say you should look into the Lumen X1. Lumen would be great. I think Render has one called the 830. It's a streamer, music server, DAC. I also think it does everything in one box. I think I would look at those two because of the price point. You can have them, you can buy them for a nice price online, secondhand market. And I think based on what I'm reading right now, what you have, I think that would be the perfect budget to match with the electronics that you have. I don't want to send you to an expensive, crazy DAC that is going to be 3 times the money of your system, right? So I keep that into account. I make sure that I look at the entire system in my head. I already know what you have because I've already had the ATI 4005 in my early days. I've had a Marantz 8805, 8805A for a while. Sonos Faber, I've had the Sonos Faber Olympica 3. So I know more or less where that system is at as far as budget. I think a Lumen X1 would be great, a great addition for that system. Okay, next question. How does the Von Stryker Endeavor compare to the Boris and X3? That's another affordable speaker. I do believe they're $20,000 though, or 19 or 20, unless they've gone up. That's a tough one because that's a really, really tight market. $20,000 price point, loudspeaker price point is a really difficult market. You got a lot of great speakers at that price point that can deliver a lot of performance. Um, I still believe the Boris and X3, because it's 13K, it's a difficult speaker to beat for the money. $13,000. I'm telling you right now, I don't have this information. Nobody has come to me and told me that this is going to happen. But if I'm a betting man, the Boris and X3s are probably going to be up to like 20K next year. Okay. Now, Von Stryker, I heard that particular model, and I thought it was a great speaker. If I am you, I have to get out there and listen to both. Here's the reason why: because the Boris is $7,000 cheaper. You need to get out there and listen to both and see if the Von Stryker model that's 20 really justifies its higher price point. You have to get out there. Now, if they're both 20K, I'm not going to say choose something blindfolded, right? I'm not going to say that, but it's an easier thing to do than to look at a speaker that's 13 and another one that's 20 and assume that the one that's 20K has to be better. I would never make that assumption. I would say that X3 Borison for the money, and I might hear it at Capital Audio Fest this coming weekend for 13K. I think Borison has hit one out of the park, has definitely hit a home run for $13,000. That's a lot of speaker for the money. If Borison is watching me right now, okay, Borison, if you're watching me, do not jack up the price of this Borison X3. I've been getting a lot of questions about it right now on my live streams. I've been getting a lot of those, and through emails and through my consultation. Speaking of my consultation service, if you need more advice like this, but more of a personal feeling, a one-on-one with me, so we can go through your entire system, do not look back. Go ahead and reach out to me. Contact me on my website, jaysaudiolab.com. Send me a message. Let's set up a consultation and let me help you. Okay. It will be about you, not about me. I'm going to hear what you have to say, what you like, the type of sound you're after, what are your dislikes, what brands you've heard that you like or don't like, what are you suffering with when it comes to audio. Okay. And I'm going to do my best to guide you. And I think I'm pretty good at that. Going back to Borison, do not jack up the prices of the Borison X3. Please. I know everything is going up, but I'm telling you, the X3 is making some noise. And part of it is the attractive price point of 13K. Do whatever it takes to maintain that price point in 2024. Do not jack up the price, okay? It's a hell of a speaker for 13K. I do not have any notes, anything, any opinion on audio note. Unfortunately, it's something I have not really attempted to try. I cannot give you any feedback, unfortunately. I use Rune with a direct connection from the core server to my DAC. Sound is good, but I wonder if adding a streamer is really a good thing. Let me tell you something. What you're asking me is, should I buy a music server? A streamer, but it's really more a music server, what you're after, okay? A music server is, think of it as an render piece, or what I use, my Takeo Extreme Music Server. I'm a dealer for Takeo. I believe in what they do. Okay, to me, this is right now the best music server there is, the Takeo Extreme. This is why it's here. Okay, I'm telling you. The performance of your system will go significantly higher once you get a music server. Not even close. Not even close, remotely close. Okay. Do not think for 1 second that if you connect your laptop, I've done it. If you connect a laptop, this laptop that I'm using right now for this live stream, a MacBook Pro M2 with a dongle that I use to go from the dongle with a USB cable into the back of my DAC. Okay, do that, or do a real music server into the back of the DAC. Let me tell you something, the difference is there. It's better. The music server will essentially clean all that nastiness that comes from our network, do the first pass internally, okay, and essentially create a pristine signal that goes straight into your DAC. Now your DAC receives a much cleaner signal, and it deals with it in a more efficient way, meaning you get more bass, you get a nicer sound stage. The biggest thing is things sound more organized when you have a music server. Yes, a lot more organized. One of the biggest things that I have here, one of the biggest pain points that I have, is the fact that most people don't understand that us as human beings, all of us, me included, we get used. We get used to anything bad because that's all we know. That's all we know. Meaning, right now, you have no clue, for instance, how much noise your system has. You have no idea right now because you got used to it. You have no idea how much bass you're lacking right now. You think you have good bass, but you have no idea because that's what you got used to. The only way you get to know what you've been missing is when you have something to compare it to right next to it, which is what I do here all the time, comparing things in here at the same time. That is the only way for you to understand what you have been missing this entire time. I'm telling you right now, I've done the experimentation of having a MacBook Pro out into my DAC and then having a music server out into my DAC. The difference is there. It's really significant. Okay. If I didn't have a music server, I would say I would be like, I would never spend this kind of money on a music server because my MacBook Pro sounds phenomenal with my DAC. And by the way, I did have that thought until I went back to my music server weeks after. Then I realized, yeah, it's not the same. It's just next level. Okay. So do not completely disregard the importance of a music server. It matters. In this case, I know you're asking me about a streamer. Okay. A streamer would be more like a Lumen back. Okay. That is not a music server. Okay. Because a music server typically has like storage internally. That's what a render has. You can put your music locally. You can, you have all kinds of like, you have a software that's built in that you utilize to essentially drive all your music and go from the music server with a USB cable or AES cable, whatever it is that you utilize, from there into the back of your DAC. Okay. So, yes, please look into a music server. They make a difference. Can I describe the effect of the Artisania dampers? Okay, the dampers would be those plates that are on top. You guys see those plates on top of my components? People want to know all the time, what are those plates? What are those plates? So the idea behind those plates basically is as follows. Number one is to demagnetize, get rid of the static that is usually built around components. When they're playing music, yes, they have a static around them. Okay, so that plate helps pull that out of the system. Okay, that damper pulls that out of the system. That's one function. Another function is depending on the weight that you buy, because there's even one that's like 8.5, 9 pounds, really tall and heavy. Okay, what that does is also push against the top lid, the top cover of a component. Usually, if you notice this, go to your systems right now, tap on it, tap on the top. You'll hear it rattle, right? Vibrate. What that does is eliminates that resonance too, that vibration on top of your component. Do I believe that you should go out there and invest in that? No. And I'm going to tell you why right now it wouldn't be a smart idea to invest in dampers. Look, I'm telling you to not buy dampers when I'm a dealer for Artisania audio stand. Yes, I'm a dealer telling you to not buy the dampers. Why am I telling you that? Because before you get there, make sure the rest of your system is solid. Make sure you've already gone through your dedicated outlets, through your power conditioning, if you're going to use a strum tank or not. Make sure you go through your room acoustics. Make sure you go through your cables, your footers. Go through all of that before you get to a damper. This is like the final tuning that you're doing. This is like the cherry on top. That's what that is. You wait until the rest of the cake is done before you put that cherry on top. That's what that is. Okay. It does make a difference, but it's not going to make a difference if your system is not solid from top to bottom. Okay. Remember, worry about the macros first. Macros go first, then micros. That would be micros. That's the last thing you worry about. All right. Have I heard the monitor audio hyphen 90K speakers? I haven't heard those speakers, unfortunately, although I have heard monitor audio and I've owned monitor audio. The Platinum 500s, I believe, is the model number. Very impressive brand, to be honest with you. I really like the build quality. This is a brand that started building furniture, and then they started to build loudspeakers. So, but I haven't heard it. Don't really have any feedback, but I do have experience with the Platinum series, the PL300s. I believe it's a PL200 as well, and the 500s. I've owned all of those. Good speakers, really good speakers. Never really bright, good bass. But you know what? Again, they don't really have a lot of traction here in the US. Don't know why. JNC is asking, have I ever thought of trying different transports? Might be a cool idea to see if there's a big audible difference. I'm going to tell you there is a difference. If I use my Sim Audio 650D, which is, I don't even know where I placed it. It's somewhere in the room, maybe under this gear that's here. If I use a 650D and then I compare against, let's say, a top of the line Esoteric Grandioso K1X, it's not even close. Not even close. If I go to my local retailer, Best Buy, and buy a Blu-ray player and go out of the Blu-ray player with an optical and connect into, let's say, a Lampensator DAC or a DCS or an MSB, I'm telling you, it's not even going to be close. Transports definitely have levels too. The inside of the transport, the laser they're using, the isolation inside the tray, the chassis, all of that affects the sound. So to think that you can go out there and buy a not even a $300 Blu-ray player or CD player, and you're going to be just as good as if you bought a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 CD player, it's not the case. It's like saying, is there a difference between a $500 CD player and a $5,000 CD player? They're both just playing discs and outputting the signal. There's a huge difference. Believe me, there is levels as well. There are levels when it comes to CD players too. There are levels when it comes to transports. Since I love huge amplifiers, do I know of the Gamut S200? If so, would you consider having one in the lab? Sure, I would consider. I actually wanted to buy the Gamut Zodiac speakers. That's a speaker that has been on my mind for some time. Never said this publicly, but I've been chasing that speaker. I've wanted to hear that speaker. I have never been able to see it in person. Here in the US, I did not see it in Munich, but the Zodiac Gamut speaker is a speaker that I've wanted to hear. I've had great feedback about it from some reviewers in the industry. I just unfortunately have been unable to hear one. With all the hard-hitting bass, do I get complaints from the neighbors? If I'm going to get complaints from my neighbors, it would be about my Ram TRX 700 horsepower truck that has a Borla exhaust system and an intake. And in the mornings, when I start it up first thing in the morning to take my daughter to school, it is pretty loud. That could actually cause my neighbors to make my neighbors complain. So no, to answer your question, my system does not bother any neighbors. The houses are pretty far apart from each other where the sound doesn't even come out. Even my wife and my daughter inside the home, inside my house, don't complain about the system when I'm blasted inside here. The reason for that is because every wall here is treated. Okay, you got room acoustics, which keep the sound inside, and also the drywall is a thicker drywall that is like acoustically treated. So the drywall itself is thicker than average. That also helps mitigate that issue that other people might hear loudness and boominess and just a club scene inside my room while they're trying to fall asleep at night. Never had a single complaint anywhere. Marcus is asking me to try some modern room treatment, basically direct, live, or active room treatment. That's a thought. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to try that. Never say never. Mike D is asking, Jay, I'm looking to upgrade my 25-year-old lower end separates to a higher end integrated brand like AccuFace, Yamaha, Luxman, Macintosh. Mike, I said it in the beginning of this video. When you're asking me for a recommendation, you got to be more specific and you have to tell me the system that you've got. You gave me a lot of options. I don't know the speakers. I don't know anything else about your system. I cannot recommend anything. Most important, a preamplifier or a power amplifier? Wow, that is a very interesting, hard, loaded question. Amplifier or preamplifier? The reason why it's hard for me to say one or the other is because the Boulder 3010 preamplifier changed my perception of the importance of a preamplifier, how much of an impact a preamplifier makes. The Boulder 3010 transformed my system to levels I never thought were imaginable. I would say both of them are equally important. What's more important, if I'm being honest, is the synergy between both. Because you can go out there and buy the best power amp you can afford, but if your preamplifier is trash, it's not going to sound very good. Vice versa, get out there and buy the best preamplifier you can afford, and if your power amplifier is trash, it's not going to be very good. So I would say it's more about the synergy between both that is key. In my early days, I started with power amplifiers. That was my obsession. Power amplifiers. Some might say that's still my obsession. Power amps. And today I will say that we've come a long way when it comes to power amplifiers. A long way. I dare to say there are more changes being made with power amplifiers than preamplifiers. I feel like preamplifiers have kind of plateaued. They're kind of like not making significant improvements as much as we're seeing with power amplifiers. Here's why. Why I say this. Think about it. We got Class D amplifiers that are now really making a lot of noise, right? We still got some of those that have like tubes with some stuff inside. I can't remember the model number. So there's all kinds of tricks that are being attempted at building better power amplifiers. But we're not seeing this innovation with preamps. I feel like with preamps, there hasn't been a significant improvement holistically across the industry with preamplifiers. More so, amps, yes. So which one is more important? It's really system dependent, but I think the most important thing out of anything is the synergy between both. That's what's more important. Bryston SST2 or SST3? Bryston, let me tell you all about Bryston. My journey with Bryston. Canadian company, 20-year warranty. Assuming you have the receipt, I believe. the original receipt. Transfer of warranty, mainly for home theater applications, although some people use it for 2-channel. Okay, really bulletproof stuff. Bryson is like as Japanese as it gets when it comes to reliability. Really reliable stuff. This is why they give you a 20-year warranty, because they know it doesn't break. You're never going to use that warranty. That said, Bryson to me has been that brand that I used in my early stages, liked it for what it was, but it never blew my mind. Now, it's been a long time since I've heard it. It's been a long time. I've owned the 4B SSD2 and the 4B Cube. 4B Cubed, I had it when it first came out. I was one of the first ones to own it right when it was released, like 5-6 years ago. The differences between both is the SSD2, I find it a little more like a brighter, but more detail. And I find the SSD3 a little warmer. And I think what they were trying to do is perhaps mitigate some of those issues that we're having with some people complaining about the SSD2s being bright. I don't think it was ever bright for me, but I can understand why people would say, hey, it's so bright. I'm looking for an SSD3 because the SSD3 is more analog. I can see that. But if I am going to buy one out of the two, I probably would look for this for like a 14B SSD2 or a 28B SSD2. Why? Because the deals, man, the deals that they can be had for are incredible. You can get a pair of $28,000 Bryson 28B SSD2s for like $7,000. And those amps are like 1,000 watts per channel, solid state. Very reliable components. So I would say the SSD2 provides a lot more bang for the buck. But if you have the budget, there are great deals with the 4B Cube and the 28B Cube. Always have deals online everywhere. Okay. They are a very good company. Maybe I should think about bringing a Bryson just to play with them and the top of the line 28B Cubes and throw them here with my XVXs and see what kind of results I get. But really, that's my only feedback with this Bryson brand. Pablo, thank you for this question, Pablo. What are my thoughts on Joseph Audio speakers? Jeff Rowland Electronics. Here we go. Jeff Rowland Electronics and Joseph Audio speakers. A lot of narrative, a lot of talking about Jeff Rowland. I see people keep sending me videos of how many conversations are being had online about Jeff Rowland. I've owned Jeff Rowland. I've owned the 925 Class D amplifiers. These were their top of the line amplifiers. They were like 30, 40K. I cannot even remember. I think they were 60K. I think they were $60,000. I've had them. Okay. Very impressive looking stuff. Very pretty. Really good looking equipment. Okay. I also had the 525s, but I've never owned the 625 S2, which is the Class AB amplifier that a lot of folks claim is the best amplifier that Jeff Rowland has ever built. So I cannot give you any feedback with that, but I will give you my feedback on Class D, the Class D amplifiers that he built. Are you all sitting down? Are you guys sitting down right now? Okay, sit down right now. I'm going to tell you what happened. So I had the Rowland 925s in here. Matter of fact, here's a picture. I remember a picture. Here's a picture so you can see it in my room next to the Mero Audio 118s. Mero Audio 118s were half the price. Class D amplifiers, just like the Rowlands. So I went ahead and did an entire shootout throughout a weekend, like through this long weekend. I remember this is 4 years ago, actually, I would say. And I cannot be this honest here. The Mero Audio 118s just kill my Rowland 925s. Just kill my Rowland 925s. I wanted to not believe it. I was trying to find a way to make the Roland sound better. I was trying to even cheat myself by using more expensive power cords on the Rolands and more affordable power cords on the Merrill Audios so that the Rolands would win, because I wanted to keep the Rolands. They look so pretty to me, so classy, so sexy, right? And I kept going, and the Merrill 118 continued to win day in, day out, regardless of what I did. The Merrill 118 had number one, far better bass than the Rolands, far better bass, faster sounding. And number two, a larger sound stage. And number three, far more neutrality than the Roland 925s had. Okay. Roland, in my opinion, is a really like beautiful product, great construction, by the way, beautiful stuff. Made in the USA, but it's very euphonic. Jeff Roland is euphonic like Luxman. It's euphonic like Constellation. These are brands that are what I call sweet sounding amplifiers. Their job is to put ketchup on everything. Every single meal has ketchup. So every single song will feel the same through a Roland product. Every single song will sound the same. It has this hint of musicality, glow that is not real. But I think that's a designer's intent. That's what Roland wants to do. He wants to make his product sound a certain way. He tunes his components to sound that way. Nothing wrong with it. I think he would even admit that. But as I grew, my years grew, I realized that I prefer the neutrality of the Merrill Audio 118s over the Roland 925s. So I would say Roland is good, really well built stuff, but it has a sound. It has a house sound. Okay, really reliable stuff. I never had a problem with Jeff Roland. Always worked day in, day out. Not a single hiccup ever with Jeff Roland. But it has a sound. And if you're a person that looks for neutrality, I will tell you, you need to look elsewhere. As far as the second part of your question, Joseph Audio speakers. You know, Joseph Audio, I see him at shows. Kudos to Joseph Audio for always getting out to shows and putting his money where his mouth is, essentially. Okay. He's out there setting up his product. He's out there really putting good shows, even in rooms that are subpar. I've seen Jeff Roland speakers in tiny rooms I've seen Joseph Audio speakers, in tiny rooms sound incredible. That I'm like, how did he do that? Speakers are against the wall. My back is against the wall, but I hear no speaker or no cabinets, and they just disappear. He is a magician when it comes to setup. But there is one thing you need to know. Joseph Audio, as good as it sounds, and it sounds really good, really good. Two things you need to be aware of. One thing is, notice how at shows, audio shows, where he sets up his own stuff, he's always using cordless cables. There's a reason for that. Joseph Audio speakers can be bright. Cordless helps mitigate some of that brightness because cordless cables are on the warmer side of things. Everyone knows this about cordless cables. So, brightness, careful with that. And then the second thing you need to be aware of with Joseph Audio sounds amazing at shows. I've said it when he sets them up. But if you try to set them up at home, good luck with that. I hear from dealers all the time. Sounds amazing when you set them up right, but the setup process is no joke. It definitely takes a lot of effort to make a Joseph Audio speaker sound good. Now, that's what I've been told. I have never owned it. I'm sharing feedback with you. Okay. What's interesting is this feedback seems accurate because I've been to shows where I've seen him with cordless cables, and I've heard from people that he goes into a room and spends like a full day setting up a pair of bookshelf speakers. Like, he is really meticulous about loudspeaker setup. And dealers have told me that, yeah, they're going to sound okay. They're going to sound okay if you throw them into the room and do a couple of things, but you're never going to get to hear that speaker unless you spend quality time setting it up. So if you have the patience for it, go for it. Joseph Audio sounds good, though. I'll tell you, outside of those two things, Joseph Audio definitely has impressed me. Gary will be at the Capital Audio Fest next weekend. Do I have any advice to get the most out of the show for someone attending the first time? My advice to you, Gary, is look at the first floor first. Look at the rooms on the first floor first, the big rooms. Focus on the big rooms. Spend as much time as possible looking at the big rooms, listening to the big rooms. That's where the best performance usually exists. Okay, if I'm being honest. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to find great sounding rooms upstairs. That's not what I'm saying. But the majority, the best rooms are the rooms down below, 90% of the time. And start from the last, once you get done with the first floor, go all the way to the top. Last floor, go all the way to the top and start there. Work your way up. Make sure you take a break. Make sure you take a break. If you're spending 2 days, make sure you take a break to let your gears rest some, because eventually you start getting fatigued and then you're not really paying close attention to the different systems because you're tired of hearing music. Okay. So make sure you take your break, your lunch break, disconnect a little bit, and then continue. But look at the first floor and then work your way from the top down. Hey, Terry. Thank you for being here with me today. What's my opinion on Lamb amplifiers? Lamb, an American company, originally started in New York, I believe. The designer's name escapes my mind, but I know he passed away a few years ago. And they moved their entire production from New York to Miami. So right now, Lamb is literally an hour drive from me. I never said this, but I connected with his daughter, and we spoke about the opportunity perhaps to do some sort of content together. I want to hear Lamb amplifiers. I keep hearing great things about Lamb amplifiers with Wilson Audio. I even asked if they would like for me to do a factory tour since they're only an hour away from me. They are on board. Um, we disconnected because I think when we started talking is when I was headed to Germany for Munich, and we just disconnected completely. And that's when I wanted to come out and maybe do some sort of video, see what they're up to, what new ideas, where is the brand today. I do not know the health of the company. I don't know if they're still selling a lot of products. I don't know how many employees they have. So that was the intent of going to see what they got going on, see the inside, see if they let me see how they produce the amplifiers, to see what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. I hear nothing but great things about Lamb. That much I can say. Even actually, people who are not Lamb dealers who are not associated with the brand, have told me that they remember shows over at forget this dealer this show they had in Colorado, where they display the XLF Wilson Audios with Lamb gear, and they said it was mind-boggling what came out of that room. It was one of the best performances they've ever heard. I know there is someone even at Wilson Audio who has used Lamb amplifiers with his Alexes. So I know Lamb is used widely with a lot of brands. The one thing I'm being told all the time is Lamb is very, very, very musical. It's just so engaging, pure Class A. They do run hot. They're not the prettiest looking amplifiers. They got big chassis that look like the Mark Levinson chassis from the 1990s. But they keep telling me you got to try Lamb J. It's going to make you rethink the money you're spending on these expensive amplifiers of yours. So I can definitely say that Lamb will make an appearance at some point in the lab. That's an amp that I have to do, especially because they're behind. Like they're an hour away from me. They're really in my backyard, right? So I have to try Lamb, definitely. Is there any new blood coming into the hi-fi club yet? Is it the same approximately 50 to K100 guys in the whole world who are subscribed to every hi-fi channel on YouTube? No idea if there's any newcomers, new people, new ideas. I do think that new audiophiles, younger generations are starting to enter. But I think we're losing more audiophiles than gaining, if that makes sense. I definitely believe we're losing more, meaning because of old age, they're dying, they're sick, than new ones entering the hobby. And by the way, those new ones are changing the landscape. Okay, how are they changing the landscape? If you're asking me, how is this possible? Well, first of all, the new audiophiles 9 times out of 10 are not reading magazines. They're not caring. They don't care to read a magazine. Okay. They want to see their short video on YouTube real quick. They want to see the 60-second commercial or, campaign or whatever it is. They want to see YouTube videos about the product. They don't care to read 14 pages of a magazine, of a magazine review. They don't care to do that. So this is why I think a lot of companies are now forcing themselves to make more social media presence, because they understand that old generations are leaving, they're dying, new ones are coming in, and those new ones are coming in with their own ways, their own habits. They're not about to start opening stereophile magazines and the Absolute Sound and start reading while they're in the toilet. See, it's not going to happen. Okay, these are different generations that are more about give me what I need. I got 10 minutes for you, 5 minutes for you. Is it good? Is it not good? And let me continue on with my day. And so that's what needs to be understood, that as time passes by, the industry will have to shift very much so. And what's scary though is brands continue to manufacture like much more expensive products. I mean, Magical just did an M7 for $375. So it's like it keeps getting more expensive. So I'm thinking, does that mean the younger generations need to have deep pockets to afford this stuff? Because it's not getting any cheaper, right? So I don't really know what kind of money you need to make, what kind of salary you need to make to afford a decent sounding system today. Who knows? I mean, but I completely disagree with thinking that times are the same for any industry. I believe that we will see eventually a YouTuber, and I don't think that person is here yet, but eventually we'll see a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers that deals primarily with the high end audio, with the ultra high end, or just the hi fi in general, right? I do believe that that will come, but that person isn't here yet. Okay. I don't think it will be because you're displaying expensive Wilsons. I don't think you'll ever see a person with 1 million subscribers. I wish. Don't think that will be the case. I think it will be more someone that knows how to find the perfect balance between expensive and affordable, and where they need to be more or less to attract as many people as possible. Okay. But this right here, video, is where it's at. It's no longer print, folks. It's no longer print. OCD Mikey does everything for his tribe and he doesn't care about making any money. Yeah, I mean, as I said, everyone online, everyone on YouTube is a business. If they tell you they don't care about making money, they're lying through they're lying through their teeth. Okay? Everyone who's here putting in work, sitting in front of a computer, editing video, spending time thinking about content and what they're going to do, cannot be doing this for free. Believe me, I don't think there's anybody on YouTube that's successful, that has a nice following. Okay. Nobody is doing this for free. Nobody. Whatever, whether they're selling merchandise, whether they're selling advertising, whatever it is, they have to be making something to make it worth their time. Who do you know works for free? I don't know anyone who works for free. Do you work for free? Don't you want to get compensated for your time? Anytime you go somewhere and spend time doing something that you're good at, don't you want to be compensated for your time? I think we all do. So we are no different. So if someone's telling you they're not making any money, they just want to help people out, 9 times out of 10 is BS. They're lying to your face. What are my thoughts on Vandersteen speakers? I hear great things about Vandersteen, as I said on my last live stream. Great speakers. The only knock on Vandersteen so far has been the fact that I have never heard him in their full glory at a show. They have not blown me away yet. Some people swear by them. I personally have never heard a Vandersteen speaker that I can say, holy crap, I'm looking for Vandersteen when I leave this place. Never heard one, but I keep reading great things about it. Vandersteen has a great cult. It's a cult, it's a following, it's a group of people that are die-hard Vandersteen audiophiles, okay? Most people are not into, it's kind of like Magnapen. It's a cult, it's a following. Vandersteen is the same, okay? It doesn't have a appeal for like the masses, for a big audience. It doesn't. It's a small group of people that love that brand. But I can't say it sucks. I can't say it's bad. Maybe they're going to be at this next show, Capital Audio Fest, this coming week, and I'll get to hear them again. And maybe they have done something special this time around. B&W speakers. Finally, someone asks about this English brand, B&W. How do they compare to Wilson Audio or Focal or any other high-end brand? I've heard great things about the new B&W D4, specifically the 802 and 801 D4s. I've heard people who have compared those two speakers to Magicos and preferred B&W D4s. They have compared it to Wilson Audio. They prefer B&W D4s. They've compared it to Focal, the same outcome. But then again, it begs the question, is it because they can afford B&W or because they can simply, they're unable to afford Magical, Wilson Audio? Is that the reason why they have to justify why they prefer B&W D4s? What I can say is, of course, it's a legendary company, very successful in the 90s, more than any other time that I can remember. I remember walking into a store back in 1996 down in Miami where I grew up. And I used to go with my stepfather, and we used to walk in there. And of course, the typical displays were Macintosh gear with B&W speakers. And everyone used to just be like, wow, jaws open, like just like gawking at these two components. So beautiful. I had no idea what I was looking at, but it looked pretty cool to me. I've owned my fair share of B&W speakers. As a matter of fact, I almost bought a set of 801 D4s a few weeks ago from a dealer, a local dealer. I was thinking about buying a pair of 801 D4s, but I really do not have any space for speakers right now to even start thinking about that right now. It's just, I don't have the space, the bandwidth to embark on that. Here's what I can say about B&W. Definitely has the reputation to be probably more widely known than any other brand that I can think of. Not more successful, but more widely known. Now, last week I made a video about my take on Wilson Audio, and I said it is a brand that others wish they could be, other brands, other loudspeakers could be, right? But what I said specifically is high-end audio. I don't consider B&W high-end, ultra high-end. I consider B&W mid-fi. And that's not a knock on B&W. That is not a knock on B&W, because I do believe they are delivering a lot of performance, and they're asking for the right amount of money for this performance. I do not think they're overpriced. I really do not think at all that B&W is overpriced. I think they're worth their asking price. The looks are hit or miss. Some people like it. Some people do not like it. Some say it looks like an alien in your living room. I again, that's a matter of opinion, and I leave that to each and every one of you to decide. But as far as performance, I think they got great bass. They're very difficult loads, especially the 801s. They're supposed to be just power hungry, like there is no other. There's also the conversation that it doesn't have the wife approval factors in some instances, and at the end of the day, they are unfortunately on a retailer here in the US called Best Buy, and they have over 90 locations across the United States. So they are displayed in over 90 stores, Magnolia theaters to be specific. And so when you see this product everywhere, it has a huge presence, but also I think the appeal, the status, the specialness about the product is quite diminished when you have it everywhere. Every time you open a door, B&W. You open up your window, B&W. You open up your car door, B&W. It just becomes too much, and I think that's why the perception, I think, for it being an ultra high end brand has diminished. Perfect example. Why do you think Bugatti, of course, the price point is there too, but why do you think they are so special pieces? Aston Martin, you don't see many of them. There aren't many Aston Martins. We don't have many like Toyotas. Toyota makes a hell of a car, but it's everywhere. So it's not as wanted per se. It's not as cool because you can just find one. If you close your eyes and walk around your room, you'll more than likely bump into a Toyota. That's what's happening to B&W. It's everywhere, which is great because they sell a lot, I'm sure. But the perception is not quite as high. The pedigree, the whoa, that's a special piece, isn't there. And that's why I think ultra high end and mid fi are different. Ultra high end tends to build specialty components that average Joes, for lack of a better word, cannot afford. Okay, but I think they're right where they need to be. I think they are giving you a lot of performance for the money. I personally like their looks. I don't have any problem with the look. I like the way they look. But I haven't had the opportunity to bring you a BMW. Maybe at some point, if I do, I might bring the 801 D4 and see what kind of results I get. Best preamplifier for Griffin Essence stereo, in my opinion, between the Pandora, the VAC Master, or something else. Once again, you got to tell me more than that. I need to know the rest of the system. Both preamps that you have mentioned, the Pandora and the VAC Master, are phenomenal preamps. But each one of them may sound better, like the Pandora may sound better in some cases depending on the rest of your system, and the VAC may sound better in other situations with other electronics and speakers. So you have to give me a little more context than that. Which speaker manufacturer does Borison sound similar to? Is there something that makes it unique sounding? Borison speakers sound like no other brand I know. Nothing sounds like Borison. Nothing that I know sounds like Borison. They sound very distinct. They have their own signature. Typically, the speakers are spread apart, really far away from each other, almost near the boundaries of the room, and aggressively towed in at you. That's typically what they go for. Somehow they're able to have tremendous center imaging. Everything locks dead center with the speakers this far apart, which is ridiculous. They're this far apart and everything is dead center. They're slender. As far as the sound, it's a good sound. Okay. I'm not going to say it's very deep, dynamic. This is why they love to play a lot of techno music. When you hear Borison at a show, you're going to hear a lot of techno music all the time. Sound good. Nothing to knock on them at all. I think they do provide great performance. My only, if I'm going to nitpick, if I'm going to say something about Borison, okay, and yes, I've owned Borison. You have not seen one on my channel, but I have owned Borison loudspeakers. If you wanted to know what I've owned, you could become a member of my website and you will see the Borison speakers that I had in my room. I even go and give you my take raw and uncut about Boris and loudspeakers. Become a member. But what I can tell you right now, the only thing I can share is this. You got to have a lot of their matching cables for them to really do come alive and show you their capabilities, their potential. If you start doing Borisons with other speaker cables and other brands, the results could be a mixed bag. We know you're a digital guy in a digital world, but when are you going to show love for analog? Yes, I was definitely born around digital. That was what I listened to primarily when I started getting into music, which was late 80s, early 90s. Um, that's what I was listening to. A lot of CDs, and mainly once we started streaming, that's pretty much what I've been doing. When are you going to see me do analog, more analog? When I have the time. When I have the time is when I'm going to be doing more analog. I was just sharing last night with my ultra hi-fi group on WhatsApp that digital oftentimes, more times than not, leads to you tinkering with your system more than ever. Sit down and hear me out. Sit down and hear me out. Digital, and I mean this holistically, any digital. I'm not going to single out any brand, any digital, anyone who makes a DAC or a CD player. It leads to you tinkering with your system more than analog. You have to figure out why your system is sounding bright. Is it the system? Is it the cable? Is it the DAC? Or is it the recording? Am I listening to classic rock? Is that what classic rock is supposed to sound like? Why am I being fatigued after listening to too much digital? Those are typically the main questions that you are asking yourself. And it's all oftentimes because of digital. Most folks are going to find warm cables perform better with digital. Warm speakers perform better with digital. Okay. But with analog, what you find is here's my good turntable, my Chronos or VPI or whatever it is that you own. You use average RCAs to connect your turntable into your phono. And then you use average XLRs from your phono into your preamp. And you're like, oh my God, my system sounds amazing. Oh my God, I realized this is not my system that's sounding bad, it's the source. Find all these answers, you can find out for yourself. Try it. If all you've owned is digital, get yourself a turntable. I know there is a lot of effort to get up and put a new record on and the needle and the cleaning. I get it. I understand it. But I'm telling you, when you play with a turntable or even a tape, you're going to hear your system sound like the way you never thought it could sound. And that's when you're going to understand that, damn it, all this effort that I've been making, all this money, every single dime, everything that I've been spending has been because I'm trying to correct what digital is doing through my system. I'm telling you, I go through the same. Yes, digital, I like it. Again, I like it. But digital gives you a lot more work than you know. Analog, the only work you're going to really have to embark on is buying records, cleaning them, and having to get up and change them. Because once you set it up, once you get your cartridge, once you get your phono stage, and you have a nice platform to place it on, and you know how to operate it, like you know the procedure to put a record on top and how do you clean it. Once you know those things, you don't have to touch it, and it will blow you away every time. With digital, you're streaming. We're at the mercy of the streaming services, Tidal, Cobus, you name it. And so that's why I think streaming tends to make us chase that perfect sound that does not exist because of what digital is about. All right, let me look at the next question. I have never had the chance to hear some audio 888s. I've been wanting to buy them, never had the opportunity to hear some audio 888s. Best preamplifier and amplifier for Wilson Audio Sasha DAW. The best one I've found for the money. You're not going to believe this. For the money. Boulder 866 integrated. My cable, authentic audio image as a power cord and Ethernet cable, as well as the speaker cables, and placed on top of an Artisania audio stand, the 866. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to do backflips and be thankful that you talked to me. For the money, that combination made me question the money I had in my system, the money I had spent on my Boulder 3010, 3060, 3050, bigger Wilson audio speakers. That little tiny combination left me breathless. I do not have any update on the Lin Climax DSM DAC at this time. No, I don't have anything. Yeah, REL connectors. I use them with their high level connection over the low level. I think they do integrate better. The problem with REL subs in those connections is when you start connecting that to your amplifier, it can create problems. I've seen amplifiers go into protection mode. Be careful when you're using REL subs. REL subs have a special connection that you have to use on the binding posts of the amplifier that you're using to power your speakers. That in itself is talking to the subwoofer instantaneously so that your subs are almost at the same pace or aligned with the woofers of your loudspeakers. The problem with that is some amplifiers can go into protection mode. I've seen amplifiers actually be damaged, believe it or not, and some manufacturers not covering that because some brands will state that specifically. Some amplifier brands will state it that their amplifiers are not to be used with REL subs. They are not for that connection. It will make the amplifier think it has another load, and it just makes the amplifier essentially go crazy. And sometimes it has burned out. I've seen that. So be careful when you make those connections. Make sure you're talking to your amplifier brand to see if they've made these tests, what they recommend. Do your homework before you embark on connecting REL subs to your amplifiers. Audio Temple, when is my audio journey end? When does it end? And when will I be satisfied? When will it end? It will never end. If I end my audio journey today, that means there is no more YouTube channel. That means I have nothing else to do here. I can shut it down and listen to music and call it a day, right? So it cannot end. If I end it, I have nothing else to report to you guys. So it's an ongoing journey that will be endless all the way to infinity. Okay. As long as I have a breath in my body, I will continue to evaluate components and continue to try everything I possibly can. I expect to be doing this at least another, God willing, another 20 years, at least another 20 years. So I have a long way to go. In terms of shows, I've always heard leave the big rooms for last because it takes longer for them to dial in the bigger rooms. What you have to remember is everyone begins to set up 3 days in advance on average. That means if the show starts this Friday and 5 days from today, these guys begin set up around Wednesday. They're done setting up Wednesday. So they have at least 36 hours to dial in the system. I recommend going to the big rooms first because of the fact that you're going to be able to get 2 reference points. You're going to get the early impressions, and then at the end of the show, if you can go back to the big rooms like on day 2, you're going to get a different perception. The big rooms change the most, in my opinion. They're the ones who make the biggest changes. Meaning, sonically, they have the more expensive components, which are going to go through ups and downs throughout the day. And so when you hear them in the beginning, you're going to get one view, one point of view, one idea of what they're doing. And if you hear them the next day, towards the end of day 2, it's going to be a different feeling. So that's why I'm saying start with the big rooms first and then do them again when you're done with the show. Right before you leave, do them one more time. I do not have any plans right now to try V2's audio note, or condo. Not right now. I want to, but right now I don't have any plans. Between the TAD Evolution 1 compact speakers and the Borison X3s, which one wowed you the most? See, the thing is, they're so different. This is like comparing Coke to orange juice. So different. It's so hard to say what you prefer. I think both of them, for the money, they are in contention. They're both worthy products that you need to look at. Great brands. I think TAD is definitely going to be probably the one that has the most reliability, right? Because it's Japanese. No surprise there. I'm not saying anything that's not reasonable, right? But I do think that the Borison might give you a lot more real estate and perhaps the ability to fill a larger room because it's a larger speaker. So it depends on how big your room is. It depends on the volume that you're planning to be at, the electronics. But for that kind of money, I just think that you need to get out there and listen to them, play your music through both of them, and see which kind of tweeter, which kind of presentation you prefer. The tweeter is one of the biggest differences between both. I like that ribbon tweeter that Borison uses. It's very musical sounding. But remember what I said, my early comments. Only thing that I'm cautious about is that I think Borison sounds the very best with their own cables, which is the Anzus cable line. But I also think that TAD, we could say the same thing about TAD Electronics. Although TAD Electronics, I don't believe they were around many years ago. So it would be a matter of you figuring out, if I want to do TAD, what electronics are they displaying them with, and what other combinations, what other electronics have they done shows with, right? To see what is it that you like. Borison, the only knock I have with them is they are only going to show with their own cables. And last but not least, and remember this, everyone who's watching me right now, you have to remember this. Very important. When you listen to Borison speakers, okay, and you get out to a show, in this case, we're talking about the Borison X3. A lot of questions about the Borison X3 today. $13,000, but you need to go behind the system and look at the serious amounts of cables that they use on these speakers. They are using a lot of expensive cables. I would say over $100,000 worth of cables. That is a huge added expense that you're probably not going to make. And believe me when I say this, all those cables make a drastic difference on what you're hearing. So do not think for 1 second that the performance of that X3 is not being influenced by the cables that they're using, because they are using, I've seen $60,000 power cords connected to these electronics that are driving these $13,000 Borison X3s. This is not being dishonest. This is not me calling anybody out. These are facts. Walk behind, take a look at what they're using, and understand what I'm saying. You have to be willing to do their cable line to really hear exactly what you heard in those rooms when you go to shows. What is my suggestion regarding best Griffin or Boulder amplifiers that can be used below, that can be had for under 20? You currently have Tidal Audio Piano V1 And Modrite KWE150, looking for a more dynamic system. If you're looking for dynamics, I think you come to the right pair, the right group, Griffin or Boulder. Out of those two, it depends. If you need more bass, I would say for 20K, I like the Essence, to be honest with you. I think that the Essence can be a great amplifier. You can find it for well under $20,000. When it comes to Boulder, I just think that you have to spend too much money. I wouldn't go. I recommend the 2160, but that's significantly more money. You're never going to find a 2160 for $20,000. Impossible. And I do not like the Boulder 2060. I've already said this on one of my last videos. So I think Griffin would be more of the brand that would have the best options for you at those price points that you're looking at. So I would look at an Essence, or maybe if you can score like an Antillean Evo, but it's going to be more than 20K. Unfortunately, maybe 25-ish, 26-ish. An Antillean Evo could be a good option, and that's a hell of an amplifier. A hell of an amplifier with incredible drive, power reserves, incredible bass. So something to think about. Hey, Stefan, I already talked about this. Unfortunately, I will make a video about this, but I've already said what Jeff Rowland amplifiers I've owned. I think you came late to the party. Got to tune in at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. because if not, you miss a lot, okay? Make sure you guys tune in at 3 p.m. because I'm going to take the live stream down soon after that, and then I'm going to make my videos for next week from this live stream. Between Tidal and Karma, which one did I like the most? Visually, I prefer the Karmas. For sure. I prefer the Karmas visually. Aesthetically, they're just prettier to me. As far as sound, I would say from the two, it's so hard because I heard a Karma that was like 400 grand. Okay, let me put it this way. If I am talking about a Karma or a Tidal under 100K MSRP, I think I would go towards the Tidal. I think I would like the Tidal Contriva Piano. I think it's called G2. That's a great speaker. And I think it's like 77K. That is a great speaker. That is a hell of a speaker. I think Karma has good stuff, but a lot of their good stuff starts at 100. Their midis, I think, are now 100 Gs. So that's why I'm not putting them in that conversation. But I don't think the MIDI has the extension of the Tidal Contriva Piano G2. I think that speaker has a lot more drive, more low registers. I do think the MIDI, it's a very resolving speaker when I heard it at a show, but it doesn't have the bass. You're going to be wanting more bass from the MIDI Karma. Okay, I'm going to tell you now the reason why your channel isn't growing is because you are too narrow-minded, and I'm trying new products that are only 90% of the people could afford the stuff I own. We know this, so I do not disagree with you. I know that's the reason why my channel is taking time to grow. It's growing. You guys see it. It's growing, but it's not growing as fast. If I wanted to grow fast, I know the products that I have to display. I know I got to start reviewing AirPods and laptops and headphones. I get it. I understand that. Okay. But the truth is, my passion comes from the ultra high end. Now, I did not start with the ultra high end. I said this before. I started with, Polk Audio, OnCure receivers, Rotil electronics. I started with affordable stuff and worked my way up to the top. I agree with you. And this has given me a lot of food for thought, which is, should I create a second channel that's dedicated to the affordable stuff? If I do, that's when I know I'm a full-time YouTuber. That's when I quit my other job and I do this full-time, both at the same time, parallel, essentially with two separate rooms doing this. That's the only way that I can do this. I do not have the time to handle two channels in a job. Roberto is asking, hey Jay, what's your opinion on integrated amplifiers? I do not like to have so many boxes around my room and want to simplify my hi-fi system. Speaking of integrated amplifiers, Griffin emailed me and they are going to send me the Griffin 333 integrated that they are releasing or just recently released. Nobody has it yet. It has never been shipped to anyone. There is not a single user in the world right now. They have they watch me. They thank me for my efforts. Griffin Audio, if you're watching this, thank you for that acknowledgement of my hard work and dedication. They are going to be sending me the Griffin Integrated 333. Okay, and I'm very excited because my real journey began with Diablo 300. The Diablo 300 changed everything for me. From that point on, I went after every single Griffin component there was. So I have no reason to doubt that the 333 integrated that they're releasing will be a success. I believe it will be an incredible piece. It is more money. It is 27K USD. But to answer your question, what do I think about integrateds? I believe there are integrateds like the 866. I just said it with the Sasha DAWs, my strum tank, and my cable line sounded so good, it made me question the need for all of this stuff behind me. I do believe that integrated amplifiers give you that lack of complexity, the ability to just worry about one power cord and a set of speaker cables. And if it has a built-in DAC, you do not need to worry about any XLRs. But if you do not have a built-in DAC, okay, one set of XLRs and you're done. I do believe that integrated amplifiers have come a long way. Now that said, if you want to rival the big separates, like if you are looking to rival, let's say a Griffin or a Boulder or a D'Agostino or Constellation separates, okay, you need to spend a nice amount of money on that integrated. It is not going to be an entry level integrated that will come close to that. You need to be up there. I've seen integrated amplifiers that are $50,000. You would need to be at that level to really begin to say, I'm done with the separates, because of the fact that I cannot see a $10,000 integrated coming close to the performance of $40,000 separates. Okay, I cannot see that. First of all, the $10,000 budget doesn't allow for that brand to build a quality integrated. Okay, you're not going to have the best transformer they can put in there. You're not going to have the best power supply, the best capacitors, the chassis. You're not going to have any of that. For 10K, there's only so much they can give you. So that's why I'm saying you need to go really up there in terms of a price point to have a significant integrated that can really make you question the need for separates. Think of it like this: Don Agostino's Momentum Integrated. That's like 50K. I've heard it. Sounded amazing when I had it here. Really good. Okay. Beautiful to look at. I know V2's has an expensive integrated. I know AudioNet has an expensive integrated that's like 50K. There are some elite integrated that definitely bring all of the best attributes and internal circuitry from the separates into one chassis. Okay. So there is, of course, shorter paths internally. You don't have one wire talking to another piece and the distance is this far apart. Now you have it all in one chassis. Everything is a shorter path, and that makes a difference. I'm not against integrateds. I will say that when I come to the end of my journey, I can see myself doing a quality integrated, quality cables, because you will need quality cables even with an integrated. You will need a top power cord and speaker cables. That's not going to change. You're still going to need to spend money on those two, real money. And I think that could be where I retire someday, to keep it simple, a nice set of speakers, a nice, beautiful integrated and quality cables, and call it a day. So I like where you're at when it comes to your system and what you're looking at, which is just make it simple. Definitely is something that I have always wanted, but I'm oftentimes unable to achieve. I do not have a cable Takeo router, but I will be ordering the Takeo router soon. That's definitely coming. The Takeo router, I keep hearing, makes tremendous improvements. There's someone on in my ultra hi-fi group that just bought it, and he said he can't believe how good it is. I have never heard about Cora amps, unfortunately. I'm not into any active speakers at this time. I think at some point I might be into active speakers. Right now, it just doesn't fit with what I'm doing, doesn't fit with my journey. Not against it, not hating on them, not telling you they're trash, nothing like that. Just have not gotten there. What is my opinion about the sound characteristics of Hegel amplification, a company that comes from Norway? Hegel amplifiers or electronics. I've owned Hegel H30 amplifier twice. And at this time, I want you guys to sit down. Sit down, grab your beverage, whatever you're into, and listen to me. Hegel amplifiers, the only thing I've owned. Never owned their DACs, never owned their integrated, only owned the H30. Their top of the line amplifier that's now called H30A. Owned it in stereo, and then I bought a second one and turned both of them into mono by flipping a switch on the back of the units. As a stereo amplifier, I think it had tremendous bass control. It reminded me a lot of the Krell grip on those woofers. Incredible control. Sound is not really sweet. It's not really romantic. It's not really engaging. I don't think Hegel is shooting for that type of euphonic sound. What I think Hegel does really well is bass control. It's got a great dynamic punch. High frequencies of the H30 to me were not really refined. Okay, I've heard better. Mid-range was good. Had a big soundstage, but again, high frequencies, subpar, in my opinion. As a stereo amplifier, in my opinion, it was a better sounding product than when you turn them both into monos. When you turn the Hegels into monos by flipping the switch on the back of the amp, they were, in my opinion, horrible, mediocre, absolutely just terrible sounding amplifiers in mono mode. That is not the case with the Luxman 900U. When you flip the switch on the back of the Luxman 900U and turn them into mono, they sounded even better. Hegel had an issue. When you turn those amps into mono by flipping the switch, they sounded horrible. They went backwards. So I stayed with both amps in stereo mode and heard them for an extended period of time in stereo mode. Last but not least, what a lot of you all want to know. Reliability. The reliability of Hegel amplifiers. If I am going to give it a grade on a scale from 1 to 5, meaning 5 highly reliable, 1 being terrible, bad, I'm going to give Hegel a 3 in the middle, average. I had issues with the amplifiers, and I know 2 people who've had issues with the H30 as well. Now, that's the H30, not the current H38. H30A, excuse me. Maybe the H30A fixed a lot of things for, that brand. The construction of the H30 was not great at all. The top of the unit resonated like crazy. It was not very stiff. Nothing, not even close to Past Labs was actually Past Labs is so superior in terms of construction on the outside. I feel like their construction externally wasn't that great, and they were charging $18,000 for that amplifier. Not even close to the construction of a Luxman 900U that was only $2,000 more than that H30 amplifier from Hegel. So I really hope that the new H30A has changed all that, because the H30 to me left a lot to be desired. So if you're buying a used one, make sure it's working. Make sure you test the hell out of it. Make sure you get no buzzing sounds. Make sure it's good to go. Now, with all that said, I do hear that their service center, they're great people to work with. They stand behind their product. They do customers right all the time. This guy that I know, had it. He said he talked to them, he shipped it. And long story short, I don't know exactly what was going on between both of them, but they ended up sending him basically almost a new Hagel H30. I do hear Hagel definitely does people right. They are really good people to work with. Their customer service is off the hook. So hopefully that gives you a little more tranquility as far as like buying a Hagel product. They are not going to leave you hanging. That much I can tell you. They really do take care of people. I have never reviewed Name Audio because Name Audio typically only sounds good with their own cable line. And I do not want to be doing anything with cables from other brands that's not my own. Have I ever considered building systems at 10, 20, 30K? Oh, absolutely. I would. The problem is the time. Remember what I said, I'm trying to figure out if next year is when I go full time with this. Absolutely. The time and the space. I need another room. And so this is why I'm contemplating the opportunity to probably move out of state, completely leave Florida and go elsewhere because I just don't have the bandwidth and the space right now to build multiple systems. But I think that that's definitely a great idea. I totally get it, Randy. I know people will keep asking me over and over and over again. People keep asking me daily, when are you going to start doing affordable stuff? People want to hear from me. I guess because I have such a high reference point that they think like this. If this guy is saying that's good for affordable stuff, I'm going to go look into that because this is the dude that owns the $1 million system behind him. This guy is going off of his memory that is 100% around an ultra high end system. So if he's saying this amp is killer for the money, I need to go look into that because he has a $100,000 amplifier. So he has to know a thing or two. I get that train of thought. I understand why people are asking me to do that. They want my opinion on more affordable gear. I'm hearing you all loud and clear. It's something that I'm contemplating, but I need more time. I need more time to figure out how I can fit that in. I need more space. I can't have an affordable system in this room. It would have to be a separate room with more affordable speakers, maybe speakers around 15K with a DAC that's around 10K and amps that are around 10K, something a lot more affordable than you have normally seen me with. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. That's an interesting comment there. Okay, Tom is looking for speakers in the $25,000 range to go with the Mola Mola Tambaki, DAC, and Passlabs integrated. Well, $25,000 range. Whew, okay, so I'm not going to recommend any panels. Personal opinion, I just don't think that panels are going to be everyone's cup of tea. So I'm going to go with conventional speakers, woofer, tweeter, box speakers. 25K, if you're looking for a dynamic speaker, okay? If you're looking for dynamics, I've said it a million times. There's no more dynamic speaker than Wilson Audio. Now, before you go over there and start saying, can it be something else besides Wilson Audio? Let me get there. 25K on the used market gives you a lot of good options. But my biggest problem answering your question is knowing what kind of sound you're attracted to so that I can narrow it down. For 25K, you can look at a Scala Utopia from Focal. I think that would be a great speaker because you have an integrated from Passlabs. As a matter of fact, the Scala Utopia, you can probably find it for a little less than 25K. Make sure it's the Utopia Evo. with that integrated that you have, I think it would be a great match because Pass Labs has this natural warmth that would be beneficial with this tweeter from Focal. Look at a Scala Utopia for that kind of money. It will give you the bass. It will give you the sound stage. It's a good-looking speaker, in my opinion. It's already been proven. I've had it twice. I got nothing bad to say about it. Now, if you're looking for something that's a little more romantic, I would say be careful because if I go with Sonos Faber, I'm afraid Sonos Faber and Pass Labs might be too slow of a combination. Okay. Sonos Faber is not known for being dynamic. Sounds good, but it's not known for being dynamic. And neither is your Pass Labs. Okay. Neither is your Pass Labs. So I'd say I like that Focal. I really do like the Focal Scala Evo with that Pass Labs integrated that you have. And 25K, you know what? We can even think about this Von Stryker speaker that they have for 20K. Look into that. Check out the Von Stryker website. They have great options too. I haven't owned it, but I've heard great things. I've heard Von Stryker at shows. I know I'm going to hear it soon. So look into Von Stryker. I think it will be a great opportunity to get into that brand too. Borison is great too. Borison has great speakers. My problem is, again, the cables. Got to buy their cables, man. Got to buy their cables to really be blown away with their stuff. Digital is better than analog in many ways, and from the 1980, all vinyl is digitally recorded. So yeah, you can hear digital, not analog, my friend. Interesting. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this comment? He's saying digital is better than analog. I think it depends on the recording. Number one, some albums are too close to call it. Like I've had the Adele, the new album. I think it's called 30. I've heard it and I have it on digital. I have it analog, and it's really too close to call it. Honestly, like can't hear a difference. Okay, but others like Led Zeppelin, analog smokes the digital. Digital is unbearable. You cannot hear Led Zeppelin on digital. You can't hear Ozzy Osbourne on digital. I don't care who you are. If you're blasting Ozzy and you're blasting Led Zeppelin on digital, you are deaf. You are deaf. You can't handle more than 10 seconds with those records if you're playing digital, okay? Unless you're listening at low volume levels, okay? But when you play it through analog, through tape, through vinyl, it's so different. It's much more like engaging, more body, more harmonic tones. I never feel like I have to cringe when those guitars go off. I don't have to go like, never. With analog, I just don't have that feeling at all. But yeah, I would say there are some recordings that are better on digital, no doubt. I can't think of one album right now that is better on digital, but I know I have heard a few digital records that are better than the same on vinyl, definitely. But more often than not, I would say analog has been superior for me. And I'm a digital boy. I'm saying I am a digital boy, and I'm agreeing here with a lot of you guys who love vinyl. More times than not, analog will be better. And I've had some serious analog digital DACs. You've seen some of the DACs I've owned here. I've had some serious DACs in here, okay? And there's something about that damn turntable that just makes you realize there's nothing I can do with my digital that will make this same experience happen. There's nothing I can do. I can get my digital better, but it feels like I'm always trying to change the analog sound through digital. And folks, I don't care what DAC you have. I don't care the cables you're buying. I don't care the power amp that you have. If it's Class A and you're using ribbon tweeters to make it sweeter sounding, it will not have the same feel and effect as vinyl. It won't. Okay. It just will not. I don't think we're there yet. I think digital has made tremendous improvements, no doubt. I mean, digital, the convenience factor, the flexibility. There's so many things that you can do with digital that vinyl doesn't allow you to do, no doubt. But if we're comparing sound quality from both, I just feel like analog is still above. It just is. And I'm a digital at heart. I'm a digital guy at heart. And I still believe my turntable has always impressed me more. That is correct, Bill. Yep, one day typically depends. I think Munich, it's 2 days in Munich. Uh, Per Listen brand, it's a good brand. I know they broke into the home theater market first, and then now they're branching out into 2 channel, made in China. They look like good products. I mean, I'm not going to complain about the build quality. I'm not going to say it's cheaply made. I don't have any experience to tell you that I got up close to Per Listen speakers with a flashlight and started to shine it up and down the speaker to see the cabinet construction and the binding posts and what kind of screws they're using, or wood or MDF. I haven't done any of that. Good sound, but I don't know if I would take a Per Listen speaker over, let's say, a Boris NX3. I don't know if I would take it over the $20,000 Von Stryker speaker. Per Listen is priced around those price points. That's why I'm bringing those 2 other examples to the table. I don't really know. I don't know if they have the same feel or audiophile grade as Borison and Von Stryker do. Cobus or Tidal? Oh, hell no. Cobus or Tidal? The question of the century. What's better? What does this system tell me? This crazy system. What do you think this system is telling me behind me? When I open up Tidal or Cobus, do you think my system sounds better through Cobus or Tidal? I'm here ready to put all that to rest. Finally, to let you know the following. If you hear a difference and you feel Cobus sounds better than Tidal, I'm going to tell you right now, you're dreaming. Not the case. Number one, it's album dependent. It depends on the album that you play. It has nothing to do with one being superior than the other. It depends on the record that you're playing. Sometimes that record may sound better through Cobus, and some other times, depending on the record, it may sound better through Tidal. They couldn't be more different. They are so different and difficult to compare. Some days I will open up Fleetwood Mac and it would sound that same album better on Tidal, and then I'll flip over to another record and then I find out Cobus sounds better. It doesn't happen that way, guys. Okay, so if you're thinking Cobus, it sounds better, and you want to believe in that, you're lying to yourself. It doesn't. Tidal doesn't sound better than Cobus. It's album dependent. I personally prefer Tidal because the variety of music in Tidal is bigger. There's more of a music selection. Okay, Cobus has some nice playlists, though. They do have some incredible playlists that are not found on Tidal. Songs that are not found on Tidal, like audiophile grade songs. Okay, but the convenience factor and the fact that Tidal has so many more records to me makes it more appealing. I haven't found a reason to say drop this one because this other streaming service is better. I have both, but the truth is don't be fooled. Okay, there's one is not superior than the other. I promise you it's not. I have tried to compare so that I can finally deactivate one of my streaming services and just keep one instead of two. Folks, they don't. It's full of crap. Okay, keep whichever you like better. Use that one, but don't go around saying that it's better than the other streaming service. That's not the case. Okay, they are both neck to neck. Legacy Audio Signature SC speakers are good match with AccuFace E800. I don't like the AccuFace E800. I think the AccuFace E800 is When it first came out, it was 20K and it was the biggest ripoff in the audio industry. Okay. $20,000 for an integrated that was so anemic, had no control, no drive, no cojones. It was more like it was just so boring sounding. Nothing about the E800 did anything for me. Luxman was far superior. The Luxman 509 was so much better for half the money. Okay. I would say now that AccuFace has a new distributor in the US, they have finally lowered their prices. And I even made a video about this, where they basically said, because of what I said, my criticism of how expensive AccuFace was, because of the distribution, the distributor that they were using at that point in time, they actually took it upon themselves, the new distribution, to lower the prices. So they lowered the MSRP of the E800 to, I believe, 15K, I want to say. So it's less, 25% price decrease because of your boy here. I said something years ago and they heard me and they freaking lowered the price because of my criticism of those high price points. Okay. But I can say to you that legacy audio is a very, very engaging musical speaker. My only thing is, I don't know if AccuFace will be the right fit unless your speakers are sounding bright, and maybe that's why you're thinking AccuFace. I would say that something with more clarity would be better with that speaker because legacy audio is not known for being very clear sounding. It sounds just very musical, but it's not known to be clear, like let's say magical, right? It doesn't sound clear. So I would say find an integrated that gives you this clarity that I think that I think legacy audio lacks. I recommend for you to look at the 866 Boulder, once again integrated. Look into that. Okay, I'd say that's a good match for that speaker. Okay. How does the Apex and Commander sound with the Altera grounding system? I just made a video about this for my members only. Where are you? You guys haven't seen this? I made a video for my members only of my website, jaysaudiolab.com. I told you there's exclusive content there. Just sign up, just become a member. You'll see that. You'll see my take on the Altera grounding system from Shonyara. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to make another video this week for my members, giving them more of a raw, uncut, completely open take on this grounding conversation with this Shonyara hub. How many hours a week do I dedicate to my channel? My time comes at night after I finish my job. So I'm doing about 3 hours a day at nighttime, 3 hours at night. Maybe I would say about 25 hours a week, more or less. That's how many hours I dedicate to my channel. My channel. That doesn't include the trials that I do deep into the middle of the night, all the way to midnight. So, what's my idea about Martin loudspeakers? Company that started building furniture in the early beginning and then later venture into loudspeaker design and manufacture. I love the looks. They are very clean, clear sounding speakers, lots of Accuton drivers. My only knock I would say is I don't know if they can play really loud and dynamic the way I like speakers to sound. However, this is personal preference. So maybe you don't care about those straights, but you love the nuance, the definition, the highly resolving characteristics of this loudspeaker. It's really, really detailed and very clean sounding. That's one thing that's very attractive about this Martin brand. Your dedication to high-end audio is the best out there. If only you could give a sample input to a little more affordable stereo systems. How many times have I seen this today? You guys are seeing it, right? You guys are checking out all the feedback I'm getting for more affordable systems. I'm getting a lot of people who are asking this consistently. So give me some time. I got a lot of big, important decisions to make over the next 60 days with my career and this YouTube channel. And I think that will all be sorted out once I decide what I'm going to be doing. Okay, I know two people who actually prefer the smaller 200 watt 600K 20 over the sound of the H30. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that someone prefer the H20 over the H30 Hagel amplifier. What brands complement Luxman amplifiers? I like, to be honest with you, I liked it with Wilson. I'd say this Luxman sounds good with just about any speaker that has a soft dome tweeter, just with about any speaker that has a ribbon tweeter. I do not like Luxman too much with any kind of metallic tweeter, like beryllium tweeter. I think Luxman with anything like B&W could be very harsh and fatiguing. So be careful with using beryllium tweeters with Luxman. I just feel like at times it might get a little too fatiguing. What's my okay? My opinion on open baffle speakers. I've had the chance of listening to them a few times. Haven't been able to make my own conclusions yet with this type of loudspeaker design. Some say it sounds boxless. Of course, there is absolutely no cabinet. They're saying. I haven't. Again, maybe I'll take notes this time when I get out to the show and have better feedback for you all about this type of loudspeaker, because for me it's been a question that I have been pondering for a long time. What if I like open baffle speakers? What if I did? So maybe it's time to roll out my sleeves and get out there and listen to them. It's just I don't have any near me. Most dealers don't sell open baffle speakers. That's the problem. How are MSB amplifiers? Well, I mean, I have an MSB amplifier right there. You see the MSB amplifier right there behind me? Yep. It's the S500 MSB amplifier. I haven't had a chance to really get to play it for extended listening sessions. I got to test it. I got to hear it one time for about an hour, and after that, I shut it down because I was in the middle of evaluating the Shunyata grounding system, and I wanted to only change one variable at a time. So I did. I thought it was not smart for me to change amps and grounding and add grounding systems to my system because there's too many variables for me to know what changed. So I heard it. I tested it. It sounds really good. Surprisingly, it's got it's got a nice sound stage. It's got great bass. And I can see why you want to use this amplifier with the MSB DAC. It has this nice tone that allows for this extreme detail from any DAC to be a little more like forgiving. You get to hear the nuance, but it doesn't come at you, kind of like piercing your hearing. That makes sense. So the MSB amplifier so far has been quite impressive. It is not cheap. It is $58,000. It's going to go up to 70 next year. Great construction overall. I like the flexibility. It has a lot of flexibility on the back, as you can see. It's got allows you to do the input impedance. You can change the gain. You can do a lot of things with it in order to make it more compatible with different products. Is it worth $58,000 when you look at it? Hard to say. I mean, it is hard to say. I can't see the insides of the amplifier. What I'll be able to tell you in the future is if it does perform like a $58,000 amplifier. Remember, this is priced right around the Mephisto. Griffin Mephisto, which is 61, maybe 62K. So it's got some serious competition right next to it. So we'll get to find out in the near future if this amplifier delivers the performance that justifies its price tag. It's very pricey. It I mean, most brands are doing this these days, to be honest with you. A lot of brands want to enter the $60,000 plus price point when it comes to amplification. The problem is that some of them are not looking at the competition they're next to. Some of them are not looking. Here's the issue. Some of them say, well, here's an amplifier that we're building. It's going to be 50K. And they're just thinking of a number. It's going to be 40,000. It's going to be 100 grand. And I'm looking and I'm saying, you're going to make your amplifier 100 grand? Have you looked at the Griffin Apex by any chance? Have you had a chance to look at a Griffin Apex? You're going to make an amplifier that's going to be 100 Gs. Really, a stereo amplifier. You have no idea, no clue of what this Apex looks like. You have no clue. You haven't even gotten close to it to understand that you are up against serious competition. You're essentially building a 9mm handgun and you're going to go up against an AK-47. Good luck with that. Good luck with bringing a BB gun to a gunfight, because that's what you're doing. That's what these brands are doing. They love to make up brands and products and models and just throw a dart in the dark and say, this is going to be 50K. This is going to be 75K. And they don't ever bother to study the market and figure out who dominates that segment. Who is it that we're going up against? They don't bother to do that. They don't. This is exactly the problem I had with Nagra classic amplifiers. $20,000 for a shoebox when a Luxman is 20 Gs and it demolishes the Nagra. It's not even a competition. It's a laughing matter. And again, I want to make sure I'm clear on this, okay? This is not a knock. This is not an attack. This is not me trashing anybody. I've owned both. But what I'm trying to do is highlight the stupidity that some brands have, the mistakes they make. Nagra has a $20,000 classic amplifier. Folks, this is this big, folks. My head is bigger than the amplifier. I'm not even bullshitting you. Okay? And they placed that product right next to a Luxman 900U, or in this case, the new one, the M10X, which is like 22K. If you see them in person, I guarantee you, none of you, the 125 of you that are watching me right now, none of you, if you saw them next to each other, none of you would choose the Nagra classic amplifier. None of you, because you feel ripped off. But this is an example of what these brands do not do. They do not look at the segment they're going up against. They don't bother to see that. I'm going to give you a perfect example of something else. This brand, okay, and I'll say it right now who it was. I'll say it right now. You guys do not know this. First time it's coming out to the light. Public eye. This brand was building a prototype of an amplifier. The size of a Nagra amplifier, the classic amplifier from Nagra. Shoebox, small. Class D, this tiny. Priced at around $15,000. Dealer tells him, how much? Oh yeah, we're going to send them to you. Wait until you hear them. Dealer gets them, looks at it, and he's like, 15K. Okay, maybe it blows me away. Connects it, gives it about 2 days, 3 days to make sure it settles. Nothing special. Picks up the phone. Hey, how much is this amplifier again? Oh, it's going to be 15K. I'm not interested as a dealer. I could never sell this to my customer. Why? I got a Luxman here. I'm a dealer for Luxman. How could I possibly sell this to a customer? Have you looked at a Luxman 900U? This is 3 years ago when this took place. And Lumen was like, well, we believe our product is going to outperform anything in its class. It's going to be more efficient. It's not going to run hot. Listen to me. Your product is so small. And when I have a customer walk into my room, my showroom, and they look at that product and they look at a 900U Luxman, I cannot convince them to buy what is not a great price performance proposition. I cannot force my customer to look the other way. Oh yeah, no, don't look at the Luxman. Don't look at the Luxman. Look at this amplifier that's 15K that just came out. Dude, it doesn't even sound that good. It's not that great. Guess what brand that was? Lumen. Lumen. You heard me. Lumen. Lumen was coming out with some amplifiers at some point that were completely shut down by several dealers who said, hey, this is not a great price performance product. I can't sell this on my store. I cannot charge 15K for this. Impossible. This is more like $7,500, something like that. You can't. And so that's when that idea of that $15,000 amplifier came to an end. But now you know. Now, with that said, you need to understand the following. Luxman is far cheaper in Japan than it is here. Luxman is far cheaper in Japan. Griffin is far cheaper in Asia than it is here in the United States. Far cheaper. I mean, I think somebody told me that the Luxman 900U, I think the Luxman 900U, it was like $10,000 MSRP in Japan. And in the Griffin Essence, that's currently like 27, I want to say, here in the US. No, 24, 25 in the US. It's like 15K in Hong Kong or something like that. So look at the price variances. Like, it's completely different. Completely different. Okay, so these brands that are coming up with price structures, you all need to be called out right now. Please look at your competition when you release a product. Please look at who you're going up against. You're spinning your wheels. Nobody's going to buy it. And let me tell you something. It's not a personal attack against any brand. All I'm doing is highlighting the obvious. This has nothing to do with attacking the brand itself. It's got to do more with a specific product that you're making that I feel is just poor price performance. And I'm giving my viewers a better price performance proposition. I am not doing a disservice. I'm not hurting the brand. I'm not doing any of that. Okay, because as I said for Nagra, maybe their HD stuff is killer and I've never heard it. So I'm not going to talk about their top end, but their classic for me, poor price performance. Anyway, folks, it's been near 3 hours that I've been here in front of you sharing my time, but now it's time for me to go and get ready to start my week. I will be at Capital Audio Fest, as I said earlier, this coming Friday and Saturday. If you are there, come and say hi to me, please. Introduce yourself. Tell me about your system. Tell me about your current situation, where you are, what you're looking for. Why are you at the show? I'd like to get to know more of you in person. And I hope that we can continue to do these live streams. Next weekend, I will not be doing a live stream because I will be traveling back home from the show. But I will be bringing you, as always, the best of show, top rooms, my picks for the top rooms at the show. I want to make sure I'm clear. My picks. And I will go through every room possible. I hope to go through every single room. Okay. Yes, I will try to highlight a top end room and more affordable rooms and give you all my opinion at different price points. Okay. So I hope you are in tune. I hope you're liking these videos. Like these videos. When you see my weekly videos come out, only thing I ask of you is hit that like button and subscribe. That's it. I'll keep doing the work. You guys see me do the work every day. You guys see me share my Sundays now with you. 3 hours every Sunday almost. I'm sharing it with you. All I ask, man, if you believe in what I do, is just hit that like button every time you see my video. That's it. If you do that, that's all I can ask for. That's all I can ask for, okay? Thank you for your time. And I will see you at Capital Audio. And 2 weekends from today, I will be right here again doing my thing with you all. I appreciate you all. I will speak to you soon. Peace.